Thank you so much for coming out on a rainy, cold New York day for an awesome show. Our first movie we're talking about is The Kingsman, coming out February 14th, 2020. Now, he flew straight from London to be here today. We have the director of the movie, Matthew Vaughn, here to come and tell us about it. Welcome, Matthew. It's so nice to be chatting with you. Now, you're about halfway through editing right now, too. You're in the weeds on it. You're living the Kingsman life.
Yeah, living and dying.
Now, this movie is really cool because obviously we know the first two Kingsman movies, but this is different. This is an origin story. So why did you want to, press pause right now and tell a different Kingsman story at this point?
I had an itch to try and do. I think it's important as a director or any type of artist to keep pushing your boundaries and not try and repeat yourself too many times, as easy as it could have been. And it's going to sound pretentious, and we're never going to win an Oscar or anything like that. But I was watching a lot of the Oscar movies, and I just thought I'd never want to watch any of these films again. They're good, but they're not repeatable watching. But when I was a kid, Lawrence of Arabia, French Connection, Dr. Zhivago, you put them on, you want to watch them again. So I thought, let's go back in time and do a love letter to the movies I grew up on. Today,
you brought a couple of special guests who we're going to welcome out on stage right now. So first up, we have Jimon Hansu as Shola, Harris Dickinson as Conrad, and last but not least, playing the Duke of Oxford himself, Ralph Fiennes. Ralph, this is actually your first Comic-Con ever, too, right?
Yes,
yes.
Let's
give him a big welcome. Now, Ralph, I want to start with you. Talk to us a little bit. What attracted you to wanting to come on board a Kingsman origin story, this epic movie that Matthew's been putting together? You?
Okay.
Yeah?
Well, I enjoyed the first Kingsman films and very much respected the clever balance of relationship and action that I think Matthew established. I mean, the relationship between Colin Firth's character and Taron Egerton. And I thought it was an unusual and original spin on the British spy theme. And I was flattered and delighted when Matthew proposed this prequel to the story. And I've had a wonderful time working with Harris and Jimon. And I hope that when you see the film that I think you will see there's a richness to the beginnings of how the Kingsman intelligence agency started.
There's a line your character says in the movie where reputation is what people think of you and character is what you are. And that seems to be kind of the crux and heart of this relationship. Talk a little bit about how their kind of differing opinions on war and their role in the society as gentlemen makes the heart of the movie.
Well, without giving away too much, a tragedy has happened to the family, which has given my character, the Duke of Oxford, a particular perspective about warfare. He's essentially a pacifist. And his son, Conrad, grows up, of course, when England is going into the First World War, wanting to step up and join the army, join the forces, and honour his nation. And so I think in that differing opinion about combat and violence, there's a tension.
How about for you, though, Harris? Because it seems like Conrad is he doesn't understand where his father's coming from, it doesn't seem.
Well, no, it's interesting because he's he's a little bit naive, and he's going through this stage. He's at a point in his life where he's sort of realizing what it means to be a man amidst a time where you're sort of being defined by your bravery and being defined by your sort of ability to be able to go off and fight for a cause. And I think he's got this passion that he doesn't quite fully know how to fulfill. And then that's the sort of interesting dynamic, because it comes up against his father's pre-existing and perhaps better morality, so it's interesting.
Yeah. Now, Jaimin, your character Shola, he's a former war comrade of the Dukes, but now he's kind of like a bodyguard meets butler for the family, which I imagine, and we've seen this teased in the trailers, means you get a lot of really, really cool action scenes. And now, obviously, the Kingsman movies are known for their really stylized action, but you were saying, when we were talking a little bit before this, the action in this movie is actually pretty different for the films and was challenging for you, who has this whole stunt fight background. Talk a little bit about that.
I didn't really think going to this film, given the fact that it's a period piece, given the fact that it's also tells the history of the early formation of Europe, and that was quite interesting as a sort of like base of this story, and I think that was quite amazing. But you know, at the end of the day, I was looking at the film thinking that this was an easy approach to action-driven stories, and given the fact that it's a period piece, and also how do we look at this period and imagine the war heroes, or somewhat the superheroes of that time.
He hated taking his top off, although you should be proud of what is underneath this.
This was a very painful film to me. That's what I was trying to get to. And you know, and so every day you come to set, and you're working with Ray Fine, who's you know, literally it's like you know, assisting a master class in acting, you know, and it's so
It was. Yeah.
And
now, what was amazing about Rafe was it was like having a co-director, which I loved. That sometimes I'd miss something, and Rafe was like these laser beam eyes scanning everything behind me, and he'd just nod or whisper something, and it was always
on point.
it was totally on point, and it was great. It was a real team effort, this film.